Alright, it says you're live, Jimmy.
We'll try this again. That's better. That's better. Okay. No, that's not it.
That's not live.
No. That's the other. That's the last video.
That was the one that was published. How do you get the live stream?
I don't know. Oh, I hate when we have power outages. It messes with everything. All right, let's... Okay. There I am. We got it, I think.
Okay. There I am. We got
All right. Finally.
it. Yay.
Yes.
We worked through anything.
We had a little storm last night here, and the power got zapped out, and we had to reset our whole system. So, but we have it now. We are good. So we'll just wait a minute, see if anybody decides to join us today. You want to, can you tilt just a little bit so that we can take some,
More of the weapon.
yeah, catch more of the table instead of all the dead space above me. There we go. That's perfect right there. Okay. All right. We got one person watching, or is that you on the other phone?
No, it might be somebody else. Let's see.
All right. So we're waiting for a few minutes to see if we get anybody to join in, or if everybody's out enjoying this lovely weather we're having. I don't know about y'all, but it's been raining, what, every other day here for... It didn't rain for a month, and now the last 2 weeks it's been raining every other day. Richard, looks like Richard's here. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Well, welcome everybody to the T350 show, both of you. Or are you one of them? You're one of them. Okay, so we got Richard. Everybody must be out doing stuff today, or working, or getting ready for July 4th. It's July 4th this weekend, huh? Yeah. July 4th is on a Tuesday next week. And you know what that means? We won't be here. So there won't be a T350 show next week. So we are talking this week about the final piece. We built this AR, actually. This is the one we built several weeks ago. And then we started breaking down all the components and talking about the components and giving you a little history and info and do's and don'ts and ways to optimize your system and all that good stuff. So the final piece is this right here, the buffer system. So we're going to talk about the buffer system a little bit today. This is a standard, I'm going to put all this where you can see it here. This is a standard buffer kit. Okay, when you buy what they call an A2 or a mil-spec buffer system, this is what you get. You get a carbine 6-position buffer tube. You get a castle nut which screws on to, as long as I don't cross thread it, screws onto the buffer tube. And then you have the end plate, which slides over the buffer tube. A little bit of a snug fit, but you want it to be a little snug so everything lines up properly. And then you have the buffer spring and the buffer weight itself. And this is an entire carbine system. This is a carbine tube and a carbine spring and a carbine buffer weight. Okay. Then you have the mil-spec buttstock, A2 style, very basic buttstock that comes on most of your off-the-shelf AR-15s. Okay, so this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 components that you get with a standard buffer kit. And what comes in the lower parts kit is the buffer retainer and the buffer spring, the retainer spring, which is inside your lower receiver. Now, it's not absolutely necessary for those to be installed for this system to work, but what it does is when you crack the gun open, and I'm going to go ahead and crack this one open, it retains the buffer spring and buffer in the tube so that it doesn't go flying when you disassemble the two halves of the gun. I'm going to set this half of the gun aside, and you can see that indeed the spring is, and buffer tube is trapped in there by the detent. Okay. So what does the buffer spring and buffer system do for you? What is it there for? I'm going to pull the bolt carrier group out of this so I can kind of show you, right? What this does is it is what cycles the weapon and reloads the weapon after you fire it. The bolt carrier group sits in here like this, okay? When the gun is fired, the bolt is pushed back into the tube a certain distance. The round is ejected. The next round comes up in the magazine, and then the kinetic energy that is stored in the spring pushes the bolt back forward and reloads the gun, and you're now ready to shoot again. So this whole thing happens, in a split second. And it also, riding on the guide here, it recocks your trigger. Okay, so buffer systems can be tricky sometimes, depending on if you don't buy the right stuff. Most carbine systems are designed to work with just about anything. You're typically going to be what they call over the spring is light enough and the buffer is light enough that it's going to work with anything. Now, if you get, say you're building like a 450 Bushmaster, something like that has a big round and a lot of pressure, and it's going to cause this gun to cycle really fast. It's going to cause that bolt to slam back, and it's going to slam forward really fast. This can cause feeding issues, where the round in the magazine hasn't had a chance to come up into the seating position of the magazine where the bolt is going to grab it and shove it up into the chamber. So what happens is the bolt starts to ride over top of the bullet, and then the bullet pushes up in and it's jammed underneath and the bolt is on top. Okay, kind of like an over-under jam where your bolt goes over top of the bullet underneath it. There's ways to optimize the buffer system. These weights can be different. The buffers are, you have carbine, H1, H2, H3, and each one goes up about an ounce. It gets heavier as you go up. So why would you want a heavier buffer? Okay, so the heavier buffer is going to slow the cycle down, right? When this, okay, when this action happens, right, the more weight that is behind this, the slower this travels. And it's slowing that cycle down. So this isn't, excuse me, slamming backwards super fast and coming forward super fast. You're slowing that cycle down and allowing everything to happen the way it's supposed to happen. The bullet has a chance to come up in the magazine, seat itself. The bolt has a chance to grab it, push it forward into the chamber, and everything works like it should. So slowing that whole cycle down a little bit, and it's going to be barely noticeable to you, right? This whole thing happens in a split second. And, you know, when you're measuring tenths of a second, if you slow something down a half a second, are you even going to notice it, right? A quarter of a second, whatever it might be, are you even going to notice it? But that gives that gun enough time to do what it's supposed to do and allow it to function properly. So one of the things that we got a guy just built a gun here in the shop, and he finally got it to cycle properly, but he's still having an issue, and it's not holding open on the last round all the time. It's cycling and loading the next round, but he doesn't always get last round bolt hold open. And I told him, I said, I think you might have too heavy of a buffer. I think he has an H2, and he might want to step down to a carbine, or his gas port isn't big enough, one or the other, because he's got everything wide open, and it's still not quite cycling properly. So what I told him to do is, if you look on this buffer, you can see there's a drift pin in there. And you pop that drift pin out, pull this plastic cap out, and you're going to find weights in here, tungsten weights, with little discs between them to buffer them. You can hear them in there. Right? Okay? There's little weights in there. And what you can do is you pop that out, pull one of them weights out, take a little piece of plastic or something like this, okay, and ball it up and shove it in there in place of that, so you don't get a super sloppy, right? It holds the weights in place so they're not super sloppy, and then you go ahead and put it all back together and try it, and that's going to tell you if this is, and then if your gun cycles properly, you know you have too heavy of a buffer. You need to get a lighter buffer. If it's the lightest buffer you can buy, then you know maybe, okay, now I got to look at drilling my gas port. Maybe I need to drill my gas port out. And I did have one that I had to do that to a year or so ago. I had a 6.5 Grendel that no matter what I did with it, I couldn't get it to cycle. And I called Andy Hobein at Grendel Hunter. I consider him to be the 6.5 Grendel expert in that world, and he told me that the Hornady ammunition had changed their formula, and that if I wanted to use the Hornady ammo, I probably had to drill out my gas port a little bit. And I drilled it out 5 thousandths, and voila, everything worked. So the other thing that you can do to adjust this system is in this spring. This is a standard mil-spec spring. There's different springs. You can buy flat wire. You can buy the Geisley 3-wire type. It's braided wire, and you can get stiffer. You can get a lighter action, and you can play with the tension on these springs, and also help optimize your cycling. So between these two units, there's quite a bit of stuff out there on the market that you can do to help optimize this system. What you're looking for is, right, when this is completely compressed, the optimal way that, and we talked about this a week or two ago when we were talking about gas blocks. You want this thing to compress just enough, right, so that it ejects the round, catches the next round, but doesn't bottom out in there, okay? Because when this thing bottoms out, there's kinetic energy being pushed back, and where does that enter? If there's energy still, it's going to go into your shoulder. You want this thing to stop short of bottoming out and then recoil and come back. That way it's dispersed all of its energy into the spring and not into your shoulder. And that's going to soften your gun up and give you less felt recoil in your shoulder. So that's kind of how that whole system goes together, and then it's retained. And be very careful with these, okay? So, you know, if you're right, there's a lot of tension there. If I let that thing go, you know, see, it comes out of there pretty fast, and you know, you don't want to put an eye out or something, you know. So always be careful when you're working, especially with these little springs and different things. You know, you're looking at something, and next thing you know, you get shot in the eye with something. So this gun needs cleaned. We had this gun in Oklahoma, and it's a little dirty. Got shot a little bit out there. So the last part of the system here is the buttstock. And this is where you can really get into a lot of variables. This doesn't do anything for you as far as the performance of the gun. You know, this is what sits in your shoulder. This comes down to kind of a fashion statement. You know, do you like this clunky, old, ugly looking A2 thing? Or do you like something like, this, before I'm getting all scattered here. You know, this is a adaptive tactical. This is really nice. I like these adaptive tactical stocks. They're a little heavier. Okay, there's a noticeable difference there, several ounces heavier. But what I really like about this is the look of it, and it's got an inch of rubber padding. Okay, so not only if you soften the recoil, you've also got some rubber padding where this is, right, there's nothing there. That's straight into your shoulder, hard into your shoulder. This gives you some padding, and that also helps absorb some of that recoil. So buffer tubes. We'll go back to buffer tubes real quick. You can see this is what we call a mil-spec buffer tube. Okay, and there's two types out there. There's mil-spec and there's commercial. You want to make sure that I always buy the mil-spec, because there's more stuff is going to fit universally with the mil-spec than with the commercial. The commercial has two things going on with it. It has a bigger diameter, okay, that these mil-spec stocks, they're not going to fit on it, because it's just about 15 or 20 thousandths bigger in diameter. And the easiest way to tell the difference, if you don't have a pair of calipers to measure the body here, is that the back of a commercial, see how flat this is? This is straight. The back of a commercial stock is angled. It's cut at an angle, and it's a noticeable angle. So if the back of your buttstock is cut at an angle like that, you know you have a commercial stock, and you need to get, if you're looking to replace this, then you're going to have to get another commercial buttstock, okay, for it to fit. Now, if you have a commercial buttstock, it will fit on the mil-spec tube, but what you're going to end up with is, see, there's a little bit of slop here. Now you've got a lot of slop, and this thing is really going to wobble around on there. So either one of them is not really optimal with the other. You want to make sure your two pieces are matched together. Okay, so that's mil-spec and commercial buttstocks. But you know, upgrading your buttstock, and I meant to grab, my favorite is my 350 Legend. I have the Mission First Tactical Minimalist buttstock, and it doesn't have the rubber pad back here, but it also doesn't have all of this. Okay, it's pretty much just that. Okay, with a kind of a stylized back, but no rough rubber pad. I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, no, that one doesn't want. Some of them, the rubber pads come off, but I'm not going to peel that off of there because it doesn't look like it's intended to come off of there. I'm sure it does somehow. Oh, there's two screws in the back here. Okay, so you take the two screws out, and then this rubber pad will come off the back. But some of them have a rubber pad that fits on. They sell an aftermarket rubber pad that fits on these. But I like the Mission First Minimalist stock because it doesn't have all of this that I'm kind of hiding with my hand. And it's a very thin, very sleek stock, and it's very light. If you're looking to build a light gun, the Mission First Tactical Minimalist stock is a really nice stock. So, and then I got this sent to me by our friends at WMD Guns in, they're in Stuart, Florida, I believe. So it's, WMD, right? The first time I heard I'm like, WMD, oh, weapons of mass destruction, right? WMD guns. Everything, WMD has always meant weapons of mass destruction. Well, it's Win, Michael, and David. It's the three guys' names that own the company, WMD. So what this is the sling stock, they call it. You guys have seen me talk about this before. Get this on there, okay? And I will go ahead and put this back together and kind of show you how it's kind of a gimmicky thing, but it is kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put this gun back together and show you how their stock works. Okay, so they have a patent on this system, and what it does is, okay, there's a sling, a retractable sling built into the stock. Okay, spring-loaded retractable spring built into the stock. So I can pull this out, and then I can take this piece right here and attach it on the Picatinny, and I've got a sling. Now for me, I would attach it, excuse me, to the other side. Okay, and I've got my sling. Okay, and then if you want to, you need more, you want it to hang low, right? It's all completely adjustable wherever you like your gun to hang. Kind of nice, like right here with a 2-point sling, you know, you can have your gun hanging right here and you're still up. So your hand's free, and then you're still up in the shooting position pretty quickly. So it acts like a 2-point sling, but completely, and you can put it wherever you need it. You can sling it over your back just like any other sling. It's very sturdy, very rugged. Their video has one of the guys. I'm ripping my ripping my earpiece off here by doing that, by trying to go 360 degrees. Okay, so let me, yeah. Not so good if you have an earpiece in, huh? And then it also has a detachable sling point, so you can put the sling point wherever you want if you don't want to use this system. And it goes right back in, and it's away. Kind of cool. A little gimmicky, but I don't know, it's kind of cool. Don't mind it. Oh, I got to put this back on here because this is our range gun that we build out of one of our range kits, out of one of our build kits. So we like to have this gun be bone stock. So yeah, remember, when you're looking to replace or build, make sure you buy the right buffer system. Investigate the buffer weights. The bigger bore, heavier pressured guns are going to want a heavier buffer. You're going to want more weight here. You're maybe going to want a stiffer spring. And watching mil-spec versus commercial on your tubes. Always watch for that. Angled back. It's going to be cut at about a 10 or 12 degree angle. It's very noticeable. And then buttstocks come, you know, in a million different options. Some of my favorites are the Magpul, the Hogue over molds, the Mission First tacticals, and I really like this adaptive tactical stock too. Just, you know, the rubber plate and the style of it. So that's how you can use a buffer system to optimize your gun, with the weights in here and the tension on your spring. What you're looking for is a soft shooting gun that is very level and gets you back on target faster, but cycles properly. So, you know, these things, you know, a lot of people don't think, oh, it's just a spring and a buffer, right? All it does is cycle the gun, blah, blah. Well, these things can make a big difference in how your gun operates or doesn't operate if you don't have the right stuff or the right parts to match with. The length of the barrel, the gas system, you know, there's all kinds of variables here, right? The longer the barrel, the longer the gas system, the shorter the gas system. This all makes variables about how the gun operates and how it cycles. So everything needs to jive and function together. It takes a while to learn all that stuff. All right. So that is... Let me make sure I got all of my stuff here, because I got to give this back to the girls in assembly to put back on the shelf in inventory. Otherwise, I'll get yelled at. So I got to put it all back together. I brought it in just for video purposes here. And if I don't put it all back together and put it back where it was, Andrea will yell at me, because then she'll finish the box of buffer tubes and there'll be one short and she won't know where it went. Let me put all this back the way it's supposed to be. And when you buy one of our buffer tubes, okay, what we do is we put the weight in, we put the spring on, and then we cap the system and thread the cap on. Okay, so when you get one of our buffer tubes, you want to be careful, because that spring is under tension in there. And when you're unwinding this, okay, if you're not paying attention, one part's going that way, one part's right, you got parts going everywhere. So you want to make sure that you're keeping tension and letting this off slowly. Okay, so if you ever get one of these, and we're not the only ones that do this, if you ever get a system like this and it's in the, you know, you got to be careful, because that's under tension in there. And it's enough to hurt somebody if it hit them in the right place. Okay. I think this goes back in there then, right? That's how she stores them for assembly. I don't want to get yelled at by Andrea. All right. So that's buffer systems. That's stocks. And that's the end of our series on building and breaking down and optimizing your AR with all the different parts. Remember, we won't be here next week. We'll be out enjoying ourselves and our families for the 4th of July. Everybody have fun. Enjoy the 4th. If you're going to mess with fireworks, don't drink in fireworks. Right? You'll end up with... could end up with something that looks like that, right? Minus a few fingers. Yeah, happy 4th to everyone. Enjoy yourselves, but be careful. I know I'm going to a party this Saturday. My wife's going to a graduation party, and I got invited to another party, and my buddy told me there's going to be guns and tannerite and fireworks, and so... yeah, I think I'm going to that one. That one sounds a lot more fun to me. So anytime there's guns and tannerite involved, I'm going to be there. So we won't be here next week. We'll be back the week after. And then, oh no, you know what? I won't be here the week after either. I'll be in Milwaukee. I'll be in Milwaukee at the Range Retail Expo. So I'm not sure who will be in here. Probably Andy or one of the guys. Brent and them guys might be in here. But you're not going to see me for a couple weeks. So probably about 3 weeks before you see me again. So enjoy yourselves. Have a happy 4th. And remember, you don't need to be an expert to build your own AR, to upgrade it or maintain it. We're here to help you do all that. And we'll see you guys. I'll see you in a few weeks. The other guys will see you here in about 2 weeks. Thanks. There's going to be a thing on there that says post. You're still